Car repos are rising, but there are some little-known ways to cut your payment and avoid losing your ride. Some lawmakers are going after DoorDash and Uber Eats to expose what they say are hidden fees, and how trying to save on Botox and plastic surgery has landed some patients in the hospital and some practitioners in hot water. And recycling for Earth Month, how oyster shells are being turned into clothes, and how you can turn your clutter into cash. And welcome to Dollars and Cents. I'm your host, Heather Sullivan. We have the best reporting from Fox stations across the country to help you cut your costs and make some smart money moves. Up first, the number of drivers highest level in 30 years. High car prices and those high interest rates have been driving many people deep into debt. The Federal Reserve of New York reports nearly 5% of Texans are more than 3 months behind on their car payments. But a credit counselor who specializes in auto loan debt says borrowers do have options to avoid repossession. Car prices have finally started to pump the brakes from their pandemic peak, but are still pricing many drivers out of the market.
I have two vehicles that I have that have paid off, and I'm going to stay that way.
While others have had to purchase and pay the price.
Interest rates on cars are high right now. I just bought her car. It's 10% interest.
Payments.com reports high prices and interest rates are causing borrowers more than 3 months late to climb from 3% to over 4% and as high as 6% for those with subprime loans. Cox Automotive expects repossessions to jump from 1.2 million to 1.5 million this year. But GreenPath credit counselor Andy Manthai says borrowers have more options than they realize.
Having an open, candid conversation with the lender, because they have options. Sometimes they can modify the loan. Sometimes they can lessen the interest rate and the payment for a period of time. If it's due to something like a temporary layoff or unemployment, maybe they can even do something like a skip a pay or a temporary hold on your payment.
He says borrowers can also consider a voluntary repossession.
If it goes to a full repossession, well, that financial institution is going to try to get reparations for all of the costs, the legal costs to file that. So a voluntary repossession, while still damaging on the credit, allows for a more amicable separation.
But he says once a repossession happens, it's not the end of the road.
Start to rebuild your credit through something like a share secured credit card or a share secured loan.
And if you've already had a vehicle repossessed, NerdWallet says ask your lender why it was repossessed and if it's possible for you to catch up. Maybe it's catching up on loan payments, or perhaps you're behind on insurance payments. For those already considering filing for bankruptcy, if you can file before the repossession, you may be able to keep the vehicle and catch up on your payments. And if your car is repossessed and then sold for less than you owe, be aware you will still owe the difference unless it's sold far below market value, and then you may have legal recourse. Well, potential car buyers need to take notice because there is a growing number of online scams for pre-owned vehicles. Scammers are tricking customers into buying cars that aren't even available. Fox's Jason Law has the details.
Whether it's eBay, Craigslist, or Facebook Marketplace, the Better Business Bureau says you need to be careful when shopping around for a pre-owned car.
Many of us post-pandemic are still extremely active online.
Paula Fleming with the Better Business Bureau says there was a 25% jump last year for reports of virtual vehicle vendor scams. That's criminals posing as private sellers or dealerships using stolen pictures and fake addresses to trick shoppers out of their money.
We just want to arm people with the knowledge, like this is happening. The numbers, unfortunately, are increasing.
The Better Business Bureau says watch out for car prices that are significantly below market value. Be wary if the seller won't let you see the car, insists on a vehicle delivery fee, or says the money must be sent to a third-party payment service, like PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App.
Anything where I can't verify a person, I think part of it is the anonymity that's behind all of this, right?
Dominic Burdick says he bought a used car last year off of Craigslist. He said he was extremely careful when he contacted the seller and did everything he could to make sure the car was real.
If I can't call and speak to a person, I'm going to I'm not just sending it over the interwebs money or just to see it disappear. No, I need to know that I'm dealing with an individual.
You also have to be careful when you research a vehicle. The Better Business Bureau says it saw a 30% jump in reports last year of bogus websites that create fake vehicle histories just to get your money or personal information. In Boston, I'm Jason Law.
And watch out what you do over those interwebs, too. All right, a warning from the FBI over scam texts with fake, unpaid E-ZPass charges. The agency issued the alert after receiving more than 2,000 complaints of texts impersonating toll road services. If you get one of these texts, you should report it, and you want to reach out to the official customer service on your toll account to verify your information. Federal regulators are looking for tighter protections on your consumer data. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is proposing new reporting rules for so-called data brokers. Those are the folks who buy and sell gathered data for advertisers. Well, the Bureau is also calling for brokers to comply with the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The Bureau says tighter data rules could also strengthen national security and keep American data out of the hands of bad actors. Several lawmakers are going after the two largest delivery platforms, DoorDash and Uber Eats, over what they say are hidden fees. They accuse the platforms of taking advantage of consumers who are relying more and more on these delivery services. 3 senators sent the companies a letter requesting information about every type of fee or service charge that they tie to executive compensation. The senators want the information by May 15th. Well, plastic surgery can be very expensive, so some people try to spruce themselves up by turning to lower cost options. But it can not only cause serious health issues, it can cost even more to try and resolve them. And Fox's Jade Fleury reports on a man known on social media as Mr. Injector 1, who is now accused of performing butt injections that cause some patients serious harm.
43-year-old Dustin David Moore appearing in front of a district court judge for the first time on Friday. Moore, also known as Mr. Injector 1 on social media, accused of giving his clients fake butt and face injections.
These are not approved by the FDA in any way, shape, or form for use in the human body.
One client even becoming hospitalized from the injections.
The defendant then injected her with an unknown substance that we don't know what it is, that she became very ill, gravely ill, ultimately over a series of days.
Texas Medical Board records show Moore was already told to stop performing as an injector without a license.
In both 2020 and in 2021, we did send him not only a cease and desist order, but we also referred it to law enforcement.
Fox 26 stopped by Moore's house to ask questions, but no answer. This comes as 2 other women, 56-year-old Consuelo Delbo and her 18-year-old daughter Isabella Delbo, were arrested just weeks ago for similar charges. Prosecutors say both arrests are part of a federal investigation.
The allegations in this case stem out of a federal investigation of substances that are being imported or smuggled into the United States illegally.
Authorities warn against pretending to practice medicine without a license.
There are folks who are posing as physicians, and obviously that is something that is extremely dangerous. In fact, it's a 3rd-degree felony.
And the U.S. Transportation Department is launching a new airline complaint program in response to that 2022 Southwest Airlines debacle. The goal of this program is to make sure that consumer complaints are addressed. Complaints will go first through state attorneys general. Historically, the DOT has been solely responsible for solving complaints and enforcing consumer protections. Royal Caribbean is using artificial intelligence on Icon of the Seas in several ways. The most obvious for guests, a new feature on the cruise line app. It lets you chat with a virtual guest services agent. But you can also ask any question without having to wait in line at the front desk. Now, here's the interesting part. The company is also using AI behind the scenes with its food services. A computer program tracks all the food that's being consumed on the ship's buffet by weight. The data then helps the kitchen staff make adjustments for the next meal. They're hoping the program will help to reduce food waste across the fleet by 50% in just 2 years. We've got a warning from Consumer Reports about high levels of risky chemicals found during a study of popular produce. The group examined 59 common fruits and vegetables, and they say they found pesticides posed significant risks in 20% of them. That included everything from bell peppers, blueberries, green beans to potatoes and strawberries. Imported produce, especially from Mexico, is more likely to carry risky levels of pesticide residues they found. Consumer Reports says the findings do not mean that people need to cut out higher risk foods. They say the best choice is to eat organic when possible and to try to rinse everything beforehand. Well, we celebrated Earth Day on Monday, but of course the idea is to keep the planet healthy year-round, and keeping it clean starts in our own backyard. Solid waste experts are sending a friendly reminder on how to dispose of hazardous waste properly. Fox 13's Regina Gonzalez has our story.
They're everyday products you'd find under the sink or in the garage, which is why you may not think twice when throwing them away the wrong way.
This is what we call household hazardous waste. Anything that's explosive, reactive, flammable, basically your chemicals. Things that if you couldn't consume it, if you couldn't drink it, then you should not be dumping down the drain.
Or tossing them in the trash for curbside pickup.
All it takes is a little bang, a little spark, a lot of flammable material like paper, and you can get a huge fire. We've already had 10 this year in our garbage trucks.
And this is why you're encouraged to leave it to the professionals.
This stuff is toxic, and these chemical agents, when they dump down the drain, where does it go? It goes to our water treatment plant.
In honor of Earth Day weekend, Hillsborough County solid waste staff, like Project Manager of Sustainability Daniel Gallagher, are reminding folks that they can properly dispose of these items by safely storing them and driving them to one of their facilities.
So if you're a Hillsborough County resident, for the first 3 Saturdays of the month at different locations, we take hazardous waste, chemicals, even explosive, things like that, and we, for free, all you have to do is show your photo ID.
With the 3rd Saturday of every month being a designated drop-off day at the Hillsborough Heights Waste Facility in Seffner, dozens of local residents took advantage of the opportunity to make our planet a safer place.
Some household waste and recycling I want to take care of.
I changed the oil and I have all this stuff left over that I got to recycle.
And it adds up quick.
We collect over 18,000 pounds of HHW hazardous waste every single month from these events.
Reporting in Tampa, Regina Gonzalez, Fox 13 News.
You know, sales of cold drinks are booming at Starbucks. They comprise of 75% of their U.S. sales. But that has created a problem, more plastic waste. Now the company is working to alleviate some of that waste with new disposable cups. The company says they contain up to 20% less plastic, and they are set to roll out this month. Starbucks says the reduced plastic cups are part of a commitment to cut its waste in half by the year 2030. And you want to make some other environmentally friendly changes? First, you can ditch single-use plastics for reusable ones. Bring your own bags when you go shopping. Reduce energy by turning off lights and unplugging electronics when they're not in use. Program your AC or heat to lower settings when you're not at home, and go paperless when you can for your bills, and decline those printed receipts at stores. And one way to go green is to add some green to your home. I love this next story. Houseplants, I'm a big plant person, so houseplants can help boost your health and your mood, and even pick you up from feeling blue. Fox's Linda Hurtado explains.
Houseplants are very welcoming, and they create a very inviting environment.
Going green may not only add life to your home, but could also pick you up if you're feeling blue.
I found that taking care of an easygoing living thing really helped my mind not stray to those negative thoughts. So we have an organic soil. Getting your hands in soil is actually scientifically proven to increase serotonin levels. So plants overall help reduce stress levels and anxiety, and just give you a sense of overall purpose.
At Fancy Plants Boutique in Palm Harbor, they'll show you that plants go beyond home decoration.
This plant here is a monstera. Monsteras are really good for removing toxins from your air.
There are multiple benefits, both physical and mental benefits, of having plants. There is air purification. That's probably one of the most commonly known benefits, because plants actually absorb the toxins in our air. But not only that, they emit oxygen. So that promotes better sleep, better overall indoor air quality in your home.
And they can be natural humidifiers.
So they actually release moisture into the air, which helps with the dryness of your skin, your sinuses.
Here's a benefit you may not expect.
If you're in by a busy highways or you have a noisy neighborhood, they help absorb the sound, making a more calming atmosphere for your home.
And you don't have to be a green thumb. While these plants can provide a certain amount of care for you, care for them is more minimal than you might think.
They don't like a lot of sun, they don't like a lot of water. You want to let them dry out, let the leaves kind of curl in, and then water them.
Because keeping them looking good may help you feel good and even
increase productivity. It's an aesthetically pleasing attribute to wherever you are.
And I didn't know that they absorb sound. That is really, really cool. All right, well, spring cleaning is a yearly ritual in many households. I hope it's in yours, but it is no fun. And it is a great time to turn your clutter into cash, as Fox's Jonathan Seri shows us how.
Spring is officially here, and if you haven't gotten a jump on your spring cleaning, now's the time.
It's a season of renewal. It's uplifting. It relieves stress. It just makes you feel better about the environment where you live.
80% of Americans will participate in the annual ritual, according to the American Cleaning Institute. Professional organizer Lori Reese says at least once a year, on top of regular cleanings, we should be washing windows, baseboards, behind and under appliances, on top of the cabinets and outdoor spaces, not skipping the often forgotten corners of closets and cabinets. Still, the hardest part is just getting started. Reese suggests tackling tasks a little at a time or even spreading it out over the year.
You're not going to get this done in a weekend. Break it down into manageable tasks.
And with purification comes purging.
Cleaning out the closets literally and figuratively is something that just occurs naturally.
It's really important to recycle all these items because they generally have a lot of utility left in them.
So before you trash unwanted goods,
the average child recycles their wardrobe 2 or 3 times a year just because of growth spurts. And the average American throws away 81 pounds of clothing a year.
Tracy Panay, CEO of the consignment franchise Just Between Friends, says you can turn your clutter into cash, reselling clothes, household items, and toys, either online or in-person sales.
It benefits one family to be able to sell those items to earn a little bit of money, and then another family who can buy those items and save a significant amount.
Panay says secondhand marketplaces not only help your pocketbook, but also the planet.
Last year, over 10 million families were able to shop secondhand. At one event such as this, it keeps over 12,000 pounds of textiles out of a landfill and 10,000 pounds of plastics out of a landfill.
According to online consignment ThreadUp, if every person bought just one secondhand garment this year instead of a new one, it would cut CO2 emissions by 2 billion pounds. That's equivalent to taking 76 million cars off the road for a day. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Yeah, it is incredible what kind of a difference it makes. And as it is Earth Month, and some theme parks are looking at ways to become more sustainable, we wanted to show you this. Walt Disney World is using items recycled in the parks and resorts to help grow beautiful flowers, like the ones that you're about to see at Epcot's International Flower and Garden Festival. Fox's Stephanie Buffamonte shows us how it works.
This is the glass pulverizer. Just look at this thing go. You could buy something like this at the resorts, and then they'll use it to make sand and gravel and use this throughout the parks. Walt Disney World's glass pulverizer can process 2,000 pounds of glass an hour. It uses recycled trash like these wine bottles from Epcot's World Showcase to make the gravel and sand.
It's also filing off the sharp edges of the glass as it goes around the mill, drops down in the back, and sorts out into a kind of a sand size and then a gravel size, and then everything else that's not glass falls out of the end.
And some of that glass coming here to Walt Disney World's nursery. Previously on the greenhouse floor, they would put coquina. Now they are putting the pulverized glass.
I saw a story on the news, one of our cast members that I've known over the years, and he was talking about this new machine pulverizing glass.
That's how Disney's horticulture manager first heard of the program. Now the nursery is transitioning to using the pulverized glass on their greenhouse floors, and it's been a success.
When you're doing watering, it penetrates through, so you won't have any surface water on the greenhouse floors. I felt like this was a really good project to focus on because it's utilizing glass that the guests, in our parks are using, and then kind of turning it around.
Disney's also using the sand on horse trails at the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. It's all part of the pilot program that's been growing since 2022. Cast members throughout the parks have been eager to do their part.
Our catering team really stepped up and said, hey, we want to be a part of this story. And, so they're running events like weddings and conventions, dessert parties as well. So their trucks are all over property all day. So they said, you know what? We can pick up the empty bins and then we can deliver the full ones just as we're driving by Fort Wilderness.
Focusing on sustainability and trying to leave the world a little more magical than we found it.
Part of our 2030 goals is having zero waste to landfill. It's very important that we engage with our cast, engage with our guests to reach that goal. It's going to take everyone doing their part.
Reporting from Walt Disney World, Stephanie Buffmonte, Fox 35 News.
That is really pretty cool. Okay, and lastly, if you've ever eaten oysters, you know a lot of shells get left behind, but did you know that they are being recycled into fashion? Fox's Crystal Young shows us the look.
Packed with protein, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, oysters are nutritious and delicious. And now, thanks to innovation, even when there's nothing left but the shell, they're still pretty useful.
Oyster-loving people are very specific. I definitely fall into that category. Never met an oyster that I didn't love, but I do acknowledge that when I'm done and I see all those shells just go in the garbage, it seems like such a waste. Well, what is better than eating oysters, wearing them, or maybe at least 50-50? I know someone who agrees with that statement. It's Mike LaMagna. You created Long Wharf Supply Company, a huge company that is into reduce, reuse, recycle, and oyster shells are part of it. Do explain.
I grew up on the water my entire life, have a really deep relationship with it, both me and my family. Was shocked for years how much waste and pollution we'd pull out of the water. So we partnered with manufacturers that could remove both water bottles and oyster shells from the waste stream, make a recycled filament, and then we just decided to blend that with cotton to make a really soft, sustainable knitwear with a soft hand feel.
I would think something made out of an oyster shell might be, I don't know, a little stiff, a little scratchy, but these feel good and they look good.
Next up is an apparel company focused on helping our oceans.
And you took this idea to Shark Tank. Were they believers?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
It was an incredible experience. It was a really good chance to look at the business from a 50,000-foot view and plan it out for the long term.
Nice. So we have a couple of models so that we can see the sweaters in action. Let's bring in our first model, Gabrielle.
This is our Kenny Bunkport Seawell sweater in really nice colorway we call spruce for spring.
Yes. Now we have another model, Sophia, and she is wearing a lobster? I was gonna say crab, but she's not crabby. That's a lobster, right?
That's a lobster.
Let me get my
yeah.
seafood together, so sorry.
So we make both this design and our skull and crossbones for men and women. They've turned out to be best sellers for our spring summer season. Yeah, so everything generally sits from 128 to 158. They can find the entire line and everything new we make at longwharfsupply.com.
All right, I like it. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Keep that creative thinking. You're helping the environment. You're helping people be stylish. I mean, how much more can you do, Mike? Help the environment and help yourself look cool for spring. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Crystal Young, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, what a great idea. All right, that's our show. Thanks so much for joining us. Hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, and X. It's all Heather Sullivan, Fox 26. Let me know what's on your mind. You'll find more ways to save every day on Sullivan Smart Sense on fox26houston.com. And we'll see you next time on Dollars and Cents.